Thank you, everyone, for being here today and sharing this lovely Seattle fall afternoon with us. We are here more than 140 feet above the Duwamish River on the West Seattle Bridge. I want to introduce Matt Donahue, who you just heard from. He is our Director of Roadway Structures, and we also have a number of other staff people here to help out. Today we want to highlight the cause behind the bridge closure and show you all the progress that we're making toward reopening the bridge. I want to reinforce before we start that we are on schedule and on budget, exactly as we expected. We're in really good shape. We are just finishing with our 90% design review process, so we're getting closer and closer to that day when we will start actual rehabilitation construction. As you can see, this is an active construction site. Perhaps you drove over some of the pretty big holes in the deck that we used to attach the work platforms. We have a structure here to go down into the deck of we have a structure here to go into the girders of the bridge. As we go below, you'll see all the details about how we are approaching fixing the bridge. And Matt and I both will be available to answer any questions that you have. Matt?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Matt Donahue. First name is M-A-T-T, last name is D-O-N-H-U-E. I'm the Director of the Roadway Structures Division, Seattle DOT. That effectively makes me the lead bridge engineer for the city of Seattle. We have them on so often, I never even think to take it off. Thank you. So I'm going to give a few comments about why the bridge is closed and why we're up here, and then we'll get into some more detail when we go down inside the bridge. Fundamentally, in essence, the post-tensioning strand, or the steel inside the bridge, so when I say post-tensioning strand, I mean they cast the concrete, there's tubes inside the concrete, they put a steel strand in it, and then after the concrete cures, they tension that steel to tighten up the concrete or put it into compression. There's all different types of PT or post-tensioning strand in this bridge. And although they designed the bridge with post-tensioning strand at the standards at the time, it turned out to be not strong enough for the bridge to carry out its useful life as designed. What happened is that steel stretched, the post-tensioning strand stretched out over time and changed the way that load moves through the bridge into an area of the bridge, specifically the floor of the girders, the box girders that we're about to go into, in a way that those box girders weren't designed to take the load, and that's what caused the cracking. Over time, those cracks grew and became worse. For me, this is a maintenance and inspection success story because of our maintenance and inspection program, we were on the bridge doing our inspections as required to do to catch that cracking when it started. And thus began a process of more frequent inspections and analysis that led us to March 2020, when it became very, very clear to us that the bridge would be closed for the safety of the public and also to protect the bridge so that we could eventually repair it if that was the route that we decided to go. That closure, March 23rd, was the same day that they closed the state. I knew it was the right thing to do, but it was not an easy decision to make because I knew I had a pretty good sense of what the impact to the community was going to be. But again, out of an abundance of caution, high mind of public safety, and to protect the asset, to protect the bridge itself, we knew that it was the right decision.
So, just quickly, early on or through the last year or so, we've been talking about multiple causes, looking at this whole twig, looking at concrete, looking, not really actually having a pinpoint. Are you now saying that we believe that steel was the issue?
Well, specifically the post-tensioning strand and a phenomenon that's called creep. So you put something under tension and maintain that tension over time, it's going to stretch out. I think the designers knew that that was a phenomenon that they needed to account for, but the code at the time didn't really capture the true behavior as it turned out.
So it's our physical cause.
So would it not have failed had the load not increased, like with more passengers and more use? I mean, if this was a lesser used bridge, would that be acceptable?
To answer that succinctly and definitively takes quite a bit of analysis and calculation. And our efforts when it comes to analysis and calculation to date have been focused on protecting the bridge and keeping it from collapsing, which is why we did all the stabilization work that we see today. And then designing repairs so that we can get traffic back on the bridge as quickly as possible. So we have not spent time with it.
Is there any work going on today as we're here?
Yeah, there are staff inside the bridge that are doing part of our monthly. We still come up here every month, even though the bridge is stabilized, and inspect and map cracks in very specific areas, some tourist areas of the bridge. I also think there's staff today. If you look, the cameras can't do this, but these pipes that are along the deck on either side. I'll talk in more detail about it, but that's part of the instrumentation system for the bridge. When we reopen the bridge to traffic, that can't stay on the deck because it's a hazard. So we're putting that same system in place, fiber optic cable that are embedded in the walls and the girders inside the bridge that are the global positioning system. And we do very minute instrumentation that looks at small bridge movements, crack movements, and then we also have instrumentation to monitor global movement of the whole bridge.
You said the bridge is stabilized. Does that mean that there could have been a possibility of at least a bit of traffic going over it because it's stabilized? And is that a policy or engineering decision? Did not do that.
Stabilization, in terms of what we did last year, we didn't know if the bridge was going to go to collapse or not. That's not related to why we don't have traffic on the bridge today. We don't have traffic on the bridge today because if we put traffic back on the bridge, there's often this phrase, you fly the plane while you're trying to fix it. That's not the right thing to do with this bridge. We have to protect the bridge, protect the asset, only allow a minimum amount of load on it while we design and implement the repairs. Otherwise, you're chasing your tail. You would break the bridge more, and then your repairs wouldn't work. So putting traffic on the bridge today would get us nowhere, but it would take us backwards.
I know you're into more details, but can you explain what are some of the mitigation efforts or engineering work that you're doing to shore up the bridge to make sure it's safe?
Yes, so several things were done last year and are ongoing. The first thing we did was we came up here after we closed the bridge every day for weeks and months to do a safety inspection to make sure that it was safe to do work on the bridge for that day. We then started mapping every crack that we could find because new cracks were showing up every day even after we took traffic off the bridge and continued to crack under its own weight. We designed and installed an instrumentation program, which we'll see in detail today, and around that created a monitoring operation and response plan. So all that instrumentation goes to a data collection website with thresholds. We see certain types of behavior or results from the instrumentation and alarms to my phone and the phone of several other engineers. We have an online 24/7 365 capability where we can jump online, analyze the data, decide if it's an issue, and if it's enough of an issue. We also stood up an emergency evacuation plan for the EMS. So we designed and drilled on that, so we got our response time down several times last year and tested it with fire engines. We also last year used that instrumentation not just for safety, but to design the stabilization measures for the bridge. And that generally includes carbon fiber reinforced polymer wrapping outside and inside of the bridge, and extra post-tensioning cables on the inside of the bridge on the top of that. And that's what we'll see. No, we haven't had any incidents. We're very careful to suss out the difference between someone bumping into a sensor and causing an alarm and what an actual alarm looks like. One of our partners on the bridge, a company called Bridge Diagnostics, they designed 5 different scenarios. They were pretty reliable in how they designed them to make it as difficult as possible so that when a real alarm came, if it ever did, we weren't wasting time trying to figure out if the data was real.
Just so quickly, guys, I know most people live in West Seattle. So I've over the last year and a half, get in touch with Pleasanton. I know you got exasperated at one of the first task force meetings. Talk about the timeline and as best you can explain why it's taking so long to end the work and whatnot. Because some people think, oh my God, right? Nice, go out that way. Good.
I'd like to have it in.
Yeah, let me just start. Let me just start by saying that the schedule that we laid out at the beginning is exactly the schedule that we are on today, which is a testament to the quality of our engineering team. As far as where I'll want Matt to talk about is sort of the details, but at a very high level, as Matt was discussing, bridges are very complicated structures, and there are a lot of things that we have to take into consideration, and adding some load to this part of the bridge changes the way the whole bridge behaves. And so design and testing are extremely important so that we only